China uses the quote-unquote United Front to co-opt and neutralize sources of potential opposition to the policies and authority of the Chinese Communist Party or the CCP inside the country as well as outside. Simply put, the United Front is a coalition of groups and individuals working towards the CCP's common goals against its enemies to pin them down. Paul Keating, the former Prime Minister of Australia, is an integral part of this particular front. Known for his pro-China credentials, Keating has now come out and openly targeted the Modi government for the abrogation of Article 370. However, on a side note, he completely ignored the conversation regarding the treatment meted out to millions of Uyghur Muslims currently starving in mass concentration camps in the Xinjiang province of China. Hi and welcome, this is TFI English, the National Socio-Political Analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Piyush, and in this video I will tell you how the former Aussie PM has once again exposed himself for what he really is, a China stooge. Let's begin. Former Australian Prime Minister Paul Keating, infamously known for his China love and waxing lyrical of Chinese Communist Party, has opened up a front against India. Speaking to the media on Wednesday, Keating pointed fingers at Prime Minister Narendra Modi for abolishing Article 370 in Kashmir while brushing the genocide of Uyghur Muslims under the carpet like it was an everyday phenomenon. Keating remarked, "We should always speak out human rights. We should always reserve the right of speaking out on human rights, whether it is the Uyghur Muslims in China, but I can also say it is the Muslims in Kashmir." Here is PM Modi, our new friend, who has suspended, repudiated the autonomy of Kashmir, which is 94% Muslim. No waves of indignation in the Sydney Morning Herald or the Age about that. I mean, India is an ally. We don't talk about allies, we only talk about national enemies. Keating conveniently ignored the early 1990s saga where the Kashmiri Pandits, the then majority in the valley, were wiped completely clean in a mass exodus. The 94% majority Keating talked about is the direct result of the exodus. The radical Muslims, even after 2 years of the abrogation of Article 370, are targeting innocent non-Muslims, butchering them in plain sight and looking to instill fear of the violent majority. However, wearing his rose-tinted glasses, Keating obviously could not make out the red flags. Showing a tender spot for the Chinese master, Keating in the same interview lied prostrate and demanded respect for China in the home media. At least give it respect. What the Chinese want, I think, is respect for what they have created. Our central proposition should be that the rise of China is entirely valid. What the Chinese want is an acknowledgement of the validity of what they have done and what they have created. The legacy of the rise of China from its colonial past and poverty. Make no mistake, Paul Keating is a long-time Chinese poodle who has on many occasions publicly cried foul over Canberra's righteous assertions against Chinese belligerents. He also served as an extremely convenient propaganda tool for the Chinese state media, which regularly quotes his anti-Australia comments to further the CCP's malicious agenda. For instance, the Global Times, in its article titled "Political Wisdom Urgent for Australia to Wade Out of Geopolitical Quagmire," mentioned there are also eminent political figures such as former Prime Minister Paul Keating, business people and academics who have been continuously making appeals to the government in Canberra to steer Australia's relationship with China out of the geopolitical and geoeconomical maelstrom. Keating, in another one of his presses, also appeared to suggest that embroiling itself in the conflict between Taiwan and China is not in Australia's interest. He said, "Taiwan is not a vital Australian interest. We have no alliance with Taipei, none. There is no document you can find." Keating also said that in any event of war between the US and China, no treaty says that Australia will be obliged to extend its support to Washington. Keating did not stop here. He went on to lecture the Scott Morrison administration on how strong and invincible China has become over the past 2 decades. He said China is now so big and is going to grow so large it will have no precedent in modern economic or social history. Keating in the past week or so has appeared to go into full wolf warrior mode. Usually even a paid stooge of the CCP cares for the optics. However, in case of Keating, any iota of pretense that ordinarily used to be there has now come up. He is openly serenading Xi Jinping and coming after Australia's ally which stood by the down under country when Keating's godfather was waging a trade war with Australia during the raging pandemic.